My dear friend, listen to me. This moment right now, it's not an accident. You didn't stumble across this message by chance. This is a divine appointment. Heaven orchestrated this second in time just for you. And what I'm about to share is urgent. It's not optional. It's not just another video. It's the voice of God knocking on the door of your life. For some of you, the next 48 hours are going to be the most important stretch of time you've lived through in years. Something is shifting. The atmosphere around your life is changing. What you've been praying for, crying for, fasting for, waiting for, it's not far anymore. It's at the threshold. You're not just dreaming it. You're about to step into it. But let me tell you, this kind of transformation doesn't happen passively. You've got to be awake in your spirit. You've got to feel this in your bones. That's stirring inside of you right now. That's the Holy Spirit confirming this word is for you. So don't walk away. Don't scroll past this. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, your destiny is gonna start unfolding. Before we go any further, welcome, my friend. I'm honored you're here. Now I humbly invite you to do 3 simple things. First, hit that like button. Second, subscribe and stand with us as we build a community of 60 strong, a family rooted in faith. And third, drop 777 in the comments right now. That's not just a number, that's heaven's signature, a divine seal of completion, awakening, and alignment. If you believe this moment is for you, declare it. Let's move forward together. Beloved chosen ones, this isn't just a word of encouragement. This is divine intelligence. This is a heaven-ordained moment. And I need you to feel the weight of that, because in the next 48 hours, something holy is about to shift in your life. I'm not talking about coincidence. I'm talking about divine orchestration, God stepping in where no one else could. This is the moment you've been prepared for. You've been walking, pressing, waiting. You've been fighting battles in silence, carrying burdens people don't even know about. There were nights you cried, mornings you doubted, and days when your faith was hanging by a thread. But hear me now, God was listening, God was watching, and now God is moving. Yes, He's been behind the curtain all along, arranging the pieces, aligning the players, preparing the scene. And now the curtain is about to rise. Heaven is declaring, it's time. And what's coming, it's bigger than what you asked for. It's more powerful than what you imagined. It's not just an answer, it's a breakthrough. A spiritual eruption that will change your life in ways you never thought possible. Now, I'm not saying this lightly. I'm not here to hype you up, I'm here to wake you up. Because the next 48 hours aren't ordinary. They're not to be treated casually. This is sacred time. God has marked this window, and if you're hearing this right now, that means you've been chosen to walk into something that will redefine your destiny. I want you to picture something with me. Picture heaven dispatching angels right now, assigning them to your name, clearing a path through the chaos, opening doors that were sealed shut, removing chains you didn't even know were holding you. That's what divine intervention looks like. It's not gentle, it's precise. It doesn't ask permission. It shows up and shifts everything in its path. God's not waiting on perfect conditions. He's not waiting on people to approve. He's acting now, because what you've been praying for, hoping for, believing for, He heard it all. The whispers in the dark, the silent screams, the tired God, I don't know how much longer I can do this. And now the response from heaven is this: I'm coming through. You see, the enemy tried to convince you that nothing would change, that this was it, that the weight you carry is permanent, that the promise was a fantasy, but the devil is a liar. And what God has planned for you is not maybe it's a manifestation, and that manifestation is being delivered in this divine window, in this divine moment. The pressure you felt lately, that wasn't punishment. That was preparation. All the closed doors, they weren't rejection, they were redirection. God wasn't ignoring you. He was protecting you from premature exposure. He was keeping you hidden until the right time. And beloved, let me say this clear. This is the time. In the next 48 hours, don't be surprised when things start to move fast. When peace starts showing up where anxiety lived, when favor starts flowing where there used to be lack, when you wake up and feel like something in the air has shifted because this breakthrough isn't going to creep in. It's coming in like a flood, not because you earned it, but because he promised it. And he's faithful to finish what he started. Now, let me ask you something real. Are you ready to receive it? Not just hear it, receive it. Because God isn't just showing up with gifts in hand, he's looking for faith that's positioned. This is your moment to respond. Not tomorrow, now. Faith isn't passive, it's active. You've got to lean in, align your spirit, speak life, expect it. You don't need all the details. You don't need a 5-step plan. All you need is one truth. God is stepping in. And when God steps in, natural laws break, timelines collapse. What should have taken years happens in hours. That's the kind of moment you're standing in right now. And I don't care what your past says. I don't care what your bank account says. I don't care what the report said. When God decides to move, no force in hell can stop him. No enemy can block it. No failure can disqualify you. You're still his child. You're still the one he called, and you're still the one he's coming through for. So let your posture shift. Stand like someone who knows the shift is already happening. Talk like someone whose breakthrough is en route. Pray like someone who's walking into their season, because the truth is, you are. This is the final step before the floodgates open. And when they do, you're going to see why it took so long. You're going to see why it had to be delayed. You weren't being denied, you were being developed. And now that you've been molded in the fire, you're strong enough to carry what's coming. The blessing will be big, yes. But more importantly, it will be right. It will be timed. It will be pure. It will be sustained. Because this time it's God ordained, not man-made, not hustle built, not luck acquired. Heaven approved and divinely released. So here's what I want you to do. Get your spirit ready. Guard your atmosphere. Protect your peace. Don't let doubt speak louder than destiny. Don't let delay convince you to settle. You are closer than you've ever been. And the next 48 hours are the crossing point between what was and what's about to be. And when it comes, don't be shocked. Be grateful, because you didn't force this. You faithed your way into it. This is what obedience looks like on the other side. This is what persistence in prayer produces. This is what divine alignment feels like when heaven says now is the time. I don't know who this is for, but I know somebody listening right now is about to witness a life-altering move of God. I feel it in my spirit. And when it hits, your whole world is going to shift. Not someday this day, not in theory, in reality. So breathe deep, stand tall. This is your moment. This is divine intervention. This is your breakthrough, and it's not coming soon. It's coming now. My dear friends, if you've heard anything I've said up to this point, hear this. God doesn't move without purpose when he sends a word. It's not random. When he opens a door, it's not just for observation, it's an invitation. And what I feel so strongly in my spirit is this. You're not just standing in front of a breakthrough, you're standing at the edge of a revolution. That's right, a spiritual and personal revolution. This isn't just about change. No, This is about transformation. The kind that rewires how you think, shifts how you speak, resets how you see the world, and realigns your entire life with heaven's rhythm. But you don't drift into that kind of change by accident. You don't stumble into destiny. You prepare for it. You walk toward it, and you act like it's already yours. Because in the next 48 hours, things are going to move fast, unexpectedly, with intensity, and you can't be asleep for it. You can't be casual about what's holy. You can't treat this sacred moment like just another Tuesday. No, this is divine ground. Let me say it like this. You're about to walk through a portal, and I don't use that word lightly. I'm talking about a passage between where you were and where you've never been. You're stepping into a dimension where favor flows freely, where what used to be blocked becomes accessible, where what used to be heavy becomes light, where divine provision meets your prepared faith. But make no mistake about it, faith without action is noise. That's why preparation matters. That's why your posture matters. That's why your spiritual readiness right now matters more than ever before. Because what God is about to release, if you're not positioned to catch it, you'll miss it. Not because He didn't send it, but because you didn't show up ready. So let me ask you plainly, are you ready to walk different? Because what's coming requires more than good intentions. It requires surrender. It requires alignment. It requires your yes before the answer shows up. It's time to stop asking if you're worthy and start preparing like you've already been chosen. Because you need to move like heaven is backing every step. You need to speak like the promise is already in motion. You need to think like breakthrough is your birthright. Because in Christ it is. God's not waiting on your perfection. He's waiting on your preparation. And preparation doesn't mean you have it all figured out. It means you're available. It means you're expectant. It means when He says move, you don't negotiate, you go. Some of y'all been walking around with a word from God for years, and now the word is knocking. And if you don't answer this time, you might miss the appointed time. And I don't say that to scare you. I say that to wake you. Wake up to what He's doing in your spirit. Wake up to the doors He's swinging open. Wake up to the oil He's pouring on your calling. Wake up, because the moment you've prayed for is arriving. But here's the key, you've got to act like it. What does that mean? It means you speak life even when fear tries to whisper lies. It means you clean out the room for the blessing even before the blessing shows up. It means you praise before the promise lands. It means you set your house in order, your mind, your priorities, your habits, because divine visitation always comes to those who make room. Remember when the woman in Scripture built a room for the prophet? She didn't wait for a guarantee. She didn't say, well, let me see what happens first. No, she made space. And in return, God made a miracle. That's what preparation does. It tells God, I believe you enough to get ready before I see it. So maybe you're asking, how do I prepare, Denzel? What do I do in the next 48 hours? I'm glad you asked. Start by clearing the clutter internally and externally. If it doesn't serve your spirit, set it down. If it drains your focus, cut it loose. You don't have time for distractions when destiny is knocking. Then align your thoughts with God's truth. You can't walk in breakthrough thinking like a victim. You can't embrace a new future while nursing old narratives. Let His word renew your mind. Speak it out loud. Write it down. Proclaim it over your house. This is your spiritual warfare, and this is how you win. Next, elevate your expectancy. Expect doors to open. Expect ideas to flow. Expect phone calls you weren't planning, provision you weren't forecasting, and peace you can't explain. Because God is not limited to your logic. And when you expect the impossible, you make room for Him to show up and show out, and finally respond in faith. Don't wait until it all feels comfortable. Step out now. Send the email. Make the call. Start the fast. Sow the seed. Speak the vision. Faith is motion, not emotion. You may not feel it, but when you move in obedience, heaven moves with you. Let me say that again. Heaven moves with the obedient. In this sacred 48-hour window, God is not only releasing miracles, He's watching how you move. He's seeing who's ready to carry what He's about to pour. He's measuring the hearts, not the hype. This isn't about performance, it's about posture. So posture yourself for overflow. Kneel if you have to. Cry if you must. But don't let fear paralyze you another second. Your life is not random. This shift is not a drill. It's divine timing. You've come too far to stop short now. The desert was real, yes, but the promised land is ahead. And it's not a concept anymore. It's right in front of you. The next 48 hours are pregnant with possibility. You're standing in the labor room of breakthrough, but if you won't push, you won't deliver. If you won't believe, you won't receive. So I'm here to tell you, get up, get ready, move, shift, prepare like you've been chosen, because you have. And when it hits, don't say it was luck. Don't call it coincidence. Say what it really is. This was God, and I was ready. You've been feeling something shift, not just around you, but within you. It's more than a passing thought or a fleeting mood. It's a pull, a divine tug on your spirit, like God Himself is whispering. Get ready. Something is coming. And deep down, you know it's not ordinary. It's not routine. This is the kind of season where heaven starts writing new chapters in your story. The kind of season where your prayers are no longer echoes in the dark, but answers that begin to manifest with clarity. And all the things that once felt distant, peace, purpose, divine alignment, they are now stepping closer into view. That's not coincidence. That's calling. That's the Spirit of God waking you up from within, saying, this is your moment. You've spent time in the wilderness. You've walked through dry places. You've cried when no one saw. You've doubted even while you kept moving. But God was watching. He was shaping you in secret. And now He's opening a door not just to a blessing, but to a higher vibration, a deeper awareness, and a sacred elevation. This isn't just the next step in your life. This is the beginning of a new way of living. And what's coming over you is not something that can be earned with effort alone. It's spiritual. It's transformational. It's heaven sent. You're not just stepping into opportunity. You're being lifted into revelation. The atmosphere around you is changing. You may not see it, but you can feel it. It's like the air itself is vibrating with purpose, with a divine charge that's waking something up inside you. The conversations are shifting. The connections are aligning in ways that were not orchestrated by you, but by the hand of God. Doors are swinging open. Not because you pushed them, not because you planned them, but because God declared it's time. And what's waiting for you on the other side of those doors is not something you have to earn, hustle for, or prove you deserve. It's something you were predestined for. You see, God doesn't just call the qualified, He qualifies the called, and you've been called. Not when you felt most prepared, but when heaven knew it was your moment. So now you stand at the threshold of transformation. And your spirit knows it. That restlessness you feel, that's your soul preparing for expansion. That ache inside, that's purpose pressing against limitation. Don't ignore it. Don't suppress it. Lean into it. This is not the season to shrink. This is the season to rise. There's a lifting happening inside you, a holy stirring that you can't quite explain, but it's real. You used to settle for less, not because you lacked desire, but because you didn't know your true value in the eyes of God. You used to run from your calling, not because it wasn't meant for you, but because you feared what your own reflection would say. But something's different now. You're not running away from it anymore. You're running straight toward it. You're not avoiding the mirror, you're facing it and seeing who you really are in Christ. And in that reflection, you're no longer seeing brokenness or shame. You're seeing beauty that was forged through the fire of trials. You're seeing a child of God who's been crushed but not destroyed, bent but never broken, delayed but never denied. And with that revelation comes power, not the kind that boasts, not rooted in pride, but grounded in spiritual authority, the kind that walks into a room and shifts the entire atmosphere because heaven walks in with you. Now, when you pray, your words carry divine weight. When you worship, it becomes a weapon. When you declare truth, angels respond. That's the shift. From survival to significance, from fear to faith, from doubt to divine presence. This is what spiritual awakening truly feels like. It's not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it arrives quietly, wrapped in silence. Sometimes it comes through moments of solitude when no one else sees. But no matter how it comes, it always brings truth. Not just any truth, but the kind that breaks chains you didn't know were there. The kind that reveals the lies you once believed. The kind that awakens a sense of purpose you had forgotten. You begin to see clearly through things you once tolerated. You sense the Holy Spirit nudging you when something is off, when something doesn't align with God's will. You begin to crave God's presence more than the approval of people. You find yourself choosing peace over being popular, obedience over the opinions of others, purpose over chasing performance. And in that sacred space, something holy is born. A fire begins to burn. A sense of clarity emerges. A divine confidence rises that whispers, even if I can't see the full road ahead, I will still trust the one who leads me. And that kind of trust, that deep surrender, is exactly what opens the door for God to lift you higher. Now, don't be surprised if things don't make perfect sense right away. Spiritual awakening rarely arrives without disruption. As your inner vibration rises, not everyone in your life will be able to come with you. Some relationships will begin to shift unexpectedly. Some doors will close and certain paths may no longer feel right. But understand this, that's not rejection, it's divine refinement. God isn't removing people or things to harm you. He's clearing space for what He has promised you. When your spiritual awareness grows, the people around you must also grow or be released. This isn't the season to shrink back or apologize for evolving. It's the season to embrace growth, to protect what God is doing in you, to honor your transformation. You're not acting superior. You're simply becoming more spiritually aware. You're not claiming to be better. You're becoming who you were always meant to be. The version heaven designed before you were born. And in that version, you no longer walk by what you see, you walk by what you believe. You no longer react in fear. You answer with truth. You no longer chase the approval of others. You live from the identity God gave you. You are stepping into a realm of love that isn't something you earn, it's something you receive. A peace that is no longer based on your circumstances, but on God's presence. A strength that's not found in your perfection, but made complete in your weakness. Because God is not waiting for you to become flawless, He's waiting for you to become faithful. Faithful enough to say, God, I don't know all the answers, but I choose to trust you. Faithful enough to declare, even when I can't see the way, I still believe you are leading me. And it's in that kind of surrender that things begin to shift. The atmosphere changes. Heaven leans in. Miracles are set in motion, not because you prayed louder or performed better, but because you gave God your full yes. That's what true awakening looks like. It's not about hype, it's about holiness. It's not built on emotion, it's built on alignment. And when your spirit comes into alignment with God, your life begins to reflect that truth. Peace fills your thoughts. Joy becomes natural. Confidence replaces confusion. And even in the middle of chaos, you know you are never alone. And that's when everything within you starts to shift. Your energy changes, your posture is different. You no longer walk the same way. You move with a deeper sense of direction. You speak not just to be heard, but with real conviction. You carry yourself with clarity and confidence, because once you've truly encountered the presence of God, going back to ordinary is no longer an option. You cannot unsee what has been divinely revealed to you. You cannot forget what's been awakened in your spirit. You've tasted something sacred. You've heard the gentle whisper of heaven. You've felt the undeniable call on your life, and now you're ready to respond, not with fear, but with holy boldness. You don't need to have the entire journey mapped out. All you need is obedience for the next step. Because with each act of obedience, you'll realize God isn't just beside you. He's already gone before you, making the way ready, straightening the path, and preparing the table that's already yours. The truth is, real transformation doesn't take place in the spotlight. It doesn't grow when the crowd is watching or when the applause is loud. It happens in the hidden places, in the silence, where your questions seem louder than any answers and your faith is tested without anyone to cheer you on. That's where God steps in, not in comfort, but in the tension, in the waiting, in the unseen process of becoming. Because before you can ever lead someone else into the light, you have to know what it's like to walk through your own darkness with unwavering trust. It's in those personal battles fought in silence, won without recognition, that your spiritual strength is developed. It's there in those quiet victories that purpose is shaped and destiny is carved. You've been sensing it, haven't you? That holy stirring inside. A divine dissatisfaction with shallow living, a longing not just for motivation, but for impartation, for something deeper, something that changes the way you see and live. And this current season is inviting you into that transformation. But it comes with a cost. It will cost your comfort. It will cost your familiar routines. It may even cost relationships you once relied on, because elevation always comes with separation. God isn't punishing you, He's positioning you, stripping away distractions, tightening your path, not to make you feel alone, but to sharpen your focus, to refine your spirit, to ignite your calling. Because what comes next requires a version of you that's been purified by the fire. And yes, there will be moments when you question everything. Days when the silence is loud and the breakthrough seems so far away. But don't mistake a delay for a denial. Heaven doesn't operate on hurry. It moves by holy timing. What God is growing in you needs time to fully develop. Your next step isn't only about the actions you'll take, it's deeply about the person you're becoming. So don't try to speed through the process. Learn to embrace it. Allow it to stretch your capacity. Allow it to cleanse your intentions. Allow it to sharpen your focus. Because when the promise finally arrives, you'll know it not by its noise, but by its lasting impact. Not by quickness, but by depth. And you'll carry it, not with exhaustion, but with joy. You are not behind. You are not overlooked. You are being hidden with purpose. There's a reason for this season of obscurity. Because when the appointed time comes, what's been concealed will come to light. What's been growing in silence will bear lasting fruit. What's been crushed will be transformed into strength. And one day you'll look back and understand every closed door was preparing the way for something better. Every unexpected turn was guided. Every pause had purpose, because God isn't only focused on your destination, He's fully devoted to preparing you for when you get there. Beloved chosen ones, something powerful begins to unfold the moment you truly wake up to the truth of who you are and who God created you to be. Your spiritual eyes start to open not only to the world around you, but to the deeper purpose planted within you. You begin to recognize that your life is not random and your experiences are not wasted. You stop viewing the world through the filter of fear, lack, or limitation, and instead you begin to see everything through the lens of calling and destiny. You become aware that you are no longer satisfied with a surface-level existence. There's a restlessness in your spirit, a holy discomfort with just getting by. You stop settling for anything that keeps you from who you're meant to become. You begin to say no to comfort when it threatens your calling. You reject distractions that pull you away from divine focus. You release the need to meet the expectations of others, and you step into the expectation of heaven. Something shifts. Something awakens. You no longer live for applause. You live for assignment. You realize you were never called to blend in. You were set apart. You were not created to simply survive this life. You were born to be sent into this world with a purpose by divine appointment. And when that truth takes root in your soul, transformation begins. This transformation is not surface level. It's not about adjusting your outer image, fixing how you look to others, or performing to meet someone's expectations. It doesn't come from cosmetics or appearances. It comes from something much deeper. It's rooted in identity. It's a soul-deep shift where the need for human approval begins to fade because you finally realize you've already been fully accepted by God. You no longer need the crowd to clap when the Creator has already called you His own. And when God starts this kind of transformation within you, it's never meaningless. He doesn't begin a work unless He plans to complete it. The process won't always be smooth. Sometimes it'll shake your comfort zone to the core. You might feel like everything that used to make you feel secure is being stripped away. But that shaking isn't punishment, it's preparation. God is strengthening your foundation by revealing its weak spots. You can't hold divine purpose in one hand and the world's approval in the other. You can't fully walk in your assignment while still trying to please who you used to be. Real transformation demands truth, and truth demands confrontation. You'll have to face the lies you've believed, the wounds you've ignored, and the masks you've worn. And as each layer falls away, you draw closer to your true God-given self. And once that transformation truly begins to take root within you, everything about the way you move through life starts to change. You no longer carry yourself with the weight of insecurity or the need to prove yourself. Instead, you walk with quiet authority, not arrogance, but a deep confidence that comes from knowing who sent you. Your voice becomes steady, marked by both grace and conviction. You begin to speak, not to impress, but to uplift. You listen with intention, not just to reply, but to truly understand and connect. You find the strength to forgive even when the pain is fresh, even when it's undeserved. You give even when it stretches you, because generosity is now part of your nature. You walk by faith, not by what you see in the natural. You live not to be validated by others, but from the unshakable worth God has placed in you. Your very presence begins to shift the atmosphere around you, not because you're flawless, but because your heart is fully surrendered. You become a living message, a sermon in motion, and the people around you start encountering God through the way you love, the way you endure, and the way you lead with quiet courage. The deeper you go in this identity, the more you see it was never just about you. Your transformation was always meant to be a blessing to others. Your growth will inevitably unsettle those who were content with your brokenness. There are people in your life who felt safe when you were stuck because your limitations made them feel better about their own. Your pain gave them someone to relate to. Your confusion made their avoidance feel justified. But once you begin to grow, once you start stepping into healing and clarity, it forces those same people to face the parts of themselves they've been avoiding. When you rise, it disrupts the comfort of staying low. That's why transformation is so often resisted, misunderstood, or even criticized. People will say you've changed and they'll be right, but they'll use it like it's a weapon, as if evolving is a betrayal. Let them say what they will. You are not obligated to shrink just so others don't feel insecure. You don't owe anyone the old version of yourself that was built just to survive. Now you're being shaped to walk in purpose. And those who are truly meant to walk with you won't feel threatened by your elevation, they'll celebrate it. Because real assignment recognizes growth. And when God transforms you, he doesn't hide you from impact. He places you in the center of it. But understand this, with clarity, before God sends you out to impact the world, he will always call you inward to be refined. Before he entrusts you with great influence, he will teach you deep intimacy with him. Before he gives you a platform for others to see, he will test your heart in private where no one is watching. You see, true authority can't flow from someone who hasn't learned how to manage their inner life. You can't guide others into peace if you're constantly in turmoil. You can't release real joy if you haven't been filled by God in the hidden place. That's why the most truly powerful people are often the ones who are least seen. They've accepted the process of being formed in the dark. They know that to have public favor without private discipline is a setup for downfall. God doesn't care about your outward performance. What draws him is purity of heart. He isn't swayed by loud worship if it isn't paired with quiet obedience. So before he increases your voice, he'll secure your foundation. Before he gives you more to carry, he'll enlarge your heart to handle it. Because transformation without character will crumble, but transformation rooted in depth builds legacy. So allow your transformation to speak volumes, not through loud declarations, but through undeniable impact. Let the way you forgive shout louder than the offense that tried to break you. Let your kindness be stronger than the rumors spoken behind your back. Let your endurance echo louder than the pain you've endured. In a culture where everyone is striving to be louder, God isn't raising noise, he's raising a voice that is spirit-led, unwavering and clear. A voice shaped not by the desire for attention, but by a vision rooted in God. Your influence won't come from charisma alone, but from character. It's not about how many followers you have, it's about how faithfully you follow Christ. The world isn't in need of more influencers chasing platforms. What it needs is more intercessors who can carry the burden of prayer, the truth of the word, and the strength of quiet integrity. People who walk humbly, live righteously, and let their lives preach even when their mouths are silent. That's the kind of transformation God desires. This journey is not about seeking recognition, it's about choosing to be real. It's not about being elevated for show, it's about being effective for the kingdom. God is not searching for the next celebrity or the most charismatic voice. He's looking for someone who will kneel in surrender. Someone who will worship faithfully in seasons of silence. Someone who will still show up and serve, even when no one notices. Because that's where the oil is produced, in the crushing, in the pressing, in the stretching of your soul. True power is not born in the spotlight, but in the silence. Not in the sound of applause, but in the sound of obedience. Power without surrender leads to destruction. But power born out of surrender is unstoppable. When your transformation is complete, it won't be because you tried to control it. It will be because you yielded completely, allowing God to cut off what was killing your growth so new life could rise. And that transformation won't stop with you. It will ripple outward. Your fire will spark flames in others. Your courage will not only carry you, it will elevate generations to come. So keep walking, even when the path feels heavy and unclear. Keep pressing forward, even when the process hurts and the progress feels slow. Keep growing, even when it's painful to stretch. Keep trusting, even when you don't understand the why. Because every time you choose to rise again after falling, you silently give someone else the courage to do the same. Every time you refuse to return to who you once were, you become a light for someone ready to step into who they're called to be. That's the true legacy of a life transformed. It doesn't stop with you, it moves through you, one surrender at a time. One hard yes to God at a time. One faithful step forward, even in fear, until one day you'll look back and realize you were never left behind. You were never invisible. You were hidden on purpose. And when the appointed time came, what was once hidden became visible. What was once buried began to bear fruit. What was once pressed began to produce power, and all those delays, they weren't signs of punishment. They were divine preparation. Every closed door made room for a better one. Every detour was filled with purpose, because God doesn't just want to get you there, He wants you ready to thrive when you do. Chosen ones, some of you listening right now can sense that something is shifting deep within you. You may not have the words to describe it yet, but your spirit knows. You felt the stirring in your chest, the quiet pull in your soul that tells you things can't stay the same. You've walked through the valley, through places that felt empty and silent, where you questioned whether God was still near. You survived. The shadows endured. The silence that echoed like abandonment lived through the long nights when the waiting room turned into what felt like a wilderness. But I came to tell you none of it was wasted. It wasn't your ending. It was your becoming. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. God wasn't absent. He was aligning you. And now as you find yourself standing at the edge of a new beginning, there is a spiritual wind beginning to blow. A breath from heaven that is awakening something sacred inside you. This is not noise. This is not for show. It's quiet, but it's real. It's power. It's peace. It's purpose. This is rebirth. And you're stepping into a transformation that will redefine who you are at your core. In the next 48 hours, something inside you is going to begin to break open. Not a collapse, not a breakdown, but a sacred breakthrough. Not something falling apart, but something coming alive. This isn't about destruction. It's about rebirth. Your spirit will start to stretch, reaching toward heaven in ways it hasn't dared to before. You'll begin to hear things that once got drowned out by noise. Your heart will respond more quickly to the still small whispers of God. You'll feel yourself becoming more sensitive to the presence and movement of the Holy Spirit, more tuned into His voice, more aware of how He is correcting, directing, and inviting you into something higher. You'll experience a deeper level of peace, not because the storm has passed, but because now you recognize who's in the storm with you. You'll begin to notice God not just in moments of worship or church gatherings, but in your everyday, in the silence, in morning light, in simple conversations. Suddenly your life won't feel chaotic. It'll feel divinely arranged, ordered by the hands of heaven. This rebirth that's beginning in you will not look dramatic or flashy. It won't come with bright lights or loud moments. Instead, it will look like quiet integrity when no one is around to applaud. It will look like choosing peace even when betrayal cuts deep. It will look like walking in obedience even when it feels hard or uncomfortable. As you begin to surrender to this sacred spiritual rebirth, something in you will begin to shift. You'll start letting go of the identity that fear once shaped. The rejection that once defined your story will lose its power. The survival mode that once controlled your choices will begin to fade. The names and labels people put on you will no longer stick. The lies that used to limit your life will be replaced by the truth of what God speaks over you. You are not your past. You are not your failure. You are not the opinion of those who didn't recognize your worth. You are being remade. Now, you carry not just breath but fire, not just dreams but calling, not just energy but anointing. And this transformation isn't just for you, it's for those you're meant to help. Because this journey isn't only about your personal transformation, it's about divine leadership. When God breathes new life into a man or a woman, He doesn't do it just so they can rise for themselves. He breathes life so they can stand up and help lead others out of their own places of death, discouragement, and despair. Your pain wasn't pointless. It now carries a voice that speaks healing. Your struggles weren't in vain. They have become a message that carries hope. Your healing wasn't just for your restoration. It has now become a weapon, a tool God will use through you to help bring breakthrough to someone else. In this process of spiritual rebirth, God is opening your eyes in a new way. You'll begin to see broken people not as burdens, but as divine assignments. You'll see moments to speak life where there was once silence and apathy. And your leadership won't be about titles or followers, but about presence. The presence of God will rest on you so tangibly that people will sense Him even before you speak a single word. There is a clear and powerful difference between popularity and purpose. There is also a deep distinction between charisma and calling. Charisma may impress people for a moment, but calling has the power to truly transform them from the inside out. In this season, God is stirring and raising up leaders who are not chasing applause or approval. These are leaders who are not waiting for microphones or platforms to validate them. Instead, they are being forged and refined in secret places. They are being forged in the furnace of humility, shaped in the quiet surrender of their hearts, and trained in the classroom of consecration and obedience. That person is you. You didn't run after the spotlight. You made a decision to choose the altar. And because of that sacred choice, heaven is placing a divine mantle upon your life, one that will remain firm whether people applaud you or reject you. Your identity no longer comes from the crowd's reaction. It's rooted in the voice of God that called you before anyone ever noticed you. Within the next 48 hours, as the process of this spiritual rebirth begins to stir and awaken something deep inside of you, do not resist it. Don't avoid it. Don't hide from it. And don't try to manage or control what God is trying to do. Instead, yield to it fully. Let God begin to uproot the hidden roots that have been suffocating your peace and draining your joy. Let Him reach into the places where you've silently bled and gotten used to the pain. Let Him break the repetitive cycles that have kept your spirit restricted and limited, because you cannot step into leadership while carrying a spirit that's still bleeding. You cannot lead others into liberty while you yourself remain bound. You cannot speak with true spiritual authority if you have not first surrendered to divine authority. So allow God to dig deep. Allow Him to purify your heart from resentment. Allow Him to restore what sorrow buried. Let Him redeem the seasons you believe were wasted, because what He's preparing to release through you requires a healed, whole, and sanctified vessel. This spiritual rebirth won't merely sharpen your discernment, it will also enlarge your influence. And it won't come through manipulation or self-serving ambition. It will come through authenticity. Because people today are tired of things that look good but feel empty. They're weary of superficiality. They're desperate for something real, something lasting. They crave presence. They hunger for truth. They long for something with weight and substance. That's why God is raising up individuals who carry depth, those who don't need to make noise to get attention because their lives speak louder than any words ever could. These are people who carry the atmosphere of heaven into every room they enter, not because of fame, but because of who they've become. They've been with God. They've let Him perform deep surgery on their hearts. They've walked through the fire and emerged, refined, not destroyed. That person is you. Not flawless, not always fearless, but handpicked and now set apart and sent. The kind of leadership God is calling you into won't always be accompanied by detailed instructions or a full map. At times it will feel like you're moving forward in darkness, guided only by a small light that reveals just the next step. But it's in those uncertain moments that your faith begins to stretch and strengthen. It's in that space that your reliance on God grows deeper. And it's there your voice becomes steady, not because you always know what to say, but because you've learned the power of listening. That posture of listening makes you a threat to the kingdom of darkness. While some are chasing recognition and building platforms, you're choosing to build altars, pursue, surrender, and be faithfully sent. You are being called into leadership not because you campaigned for it, not because you demanded recognition, but because this calling has always been woven into the fabric of your being. You were created for this assignment. Now your life becomes a vessel through which others begin to awaken. You'll find yourself pouring wisdom and encouragement into lives you once felt unqualified to stand beside. You'll speak words of life into hearts that once made you feel intimidated. You'll walk with a calm authority into rooms that once felt too big. Because this spiritual rebirth has changed your identity, it gave you a new name, a new boldness, a new way of seeing everything. You no longer look through a lens of insecurity and fear, but through the eyes of faith. And as your faith stretches, so will your influence, not by striving in your strength, but by surrendering to God's, not by forcing opportunities, but by stepping through the doors He alone opens. This spiritual rebirth is not only a renewal of your heart, it is a refining of your voice. God is intentionally quieting the distractions, removing the background noise so that your voice can begin to carry real weight, not just in how loud you speak, but in the truth your words carry, not just in opinions you express, but in the revelation you release, not just in reacting to what happens around you, but in releasing redemption into it. Your voice will become a trumpet of clarity for those wandering in darkness, a whisper that softly breaks generational chains, a conversation that mends trauma, a prayer that reaches heaven and opens its gates. You may feel unprepared. You may question your ability, but the Spirit of God within you is ready. And when you speak, heaven will stand with you. When you act, angels will surround you. When you stand firm, chains will break, not because of your power, but because you belong to Him. That is true leadership. So in these next 48 hours, stay close to the fire. Stay in the presence of God where transformation happens. Don't let your focus be pulled away by the noise or by what others are posting, planning, or pursuing. Don't compare your process to someone else's pace. This moment is sacred. Focus on what God is doing deep within you. Let the rebirth keep working. Let the refining shape you further. Let the realignment bring you back into divine alignment. Because this is not just about a temporary emotional moment, it's about a spiritual movement. And that movement doesn't start out there somewhere, it starts inside of you. In the stillness of surrender, in the intimacy of hidden prayer, in the trembling voice of a broken hallelujah. As this spiritual rebirth unfolds, you'll see clearly it was never about you climbing to be seen. It was always about you digging roots to be unshakable. From that hidden place, God is raising up a leader, a warrior, a voice of clarity, a light in the night, a shepherd for the broken, and a guide for the lost. You won't just endure, you will rise to lead. You are no longer sitting around waiting for someone to validate your calling or confirm your purpose. Heaven has already declared a resounding yes over your life. So now rise and walk with confidence. Speak with faith. Pray with power. Serve with love. Because the old is gone and the new has begun. My dear friends, when the Spirit of God starts moving in your life, when the winds of divine transformation begin to stir, the enemy won't sit idle. The enemy will attempt to cloud your mind, clutter your schedule, distract your heart, and drain your focus. Why? Because the enemy knows that if you stay focused, if you stay planted in the presence, rooted in faith and clear on your calling, there's nothing he can do to stop the breakthrough that's already on its way. That's why in this season, as God is preparing you for something beyond what your eyes have seen or ears have heard, you must guard your focus like a treasure. You must fight for your stillness. Because it is in the stillness, not in the chaos, where clarity is found. And it is in clarity where courage is born. What God is doing in your life is not random. It's not accidental. It's divine. It's strategic. And it demands your full attention. You don't have the luxury to live distracted anymore. You don't have the time to entertain every opinion, chase every conversation, or validate every criticism. Because every second you spend explaining yourself is a second stolen from your calling. Every moment you lend to gossip is a moment stolen from growth. So I need you to understand this now. Your breakthrough is too close. Your assignment is too weighty. Your destiny is too significant to be diluted by distractions. This season calls for consecration, a holy narrowing of focus, a deliberate choosing of what to ignore and what to embrace, because not everything deserves your attention. Not everything should occupy your thoughts. Not everything needs a response. You're not called to react to everything, you're called to respond to God. And sometimes the most powerful response is silence. Sometimes the most strategic move is stillness. Not because you're passive, but because you're discerning, because you recognize that energy is currency and where you spend it matters. You can't afford to invest your spiritual energy into things that drain you and delay you. You can't afford to let toxic conversations, social media noise, or emotional turbulence rob you of the focus God is asking you to steward. This kind of focus is not just mental, it's spiritual. It's not just about productivity, it's about purity. It's about keeping your heart clear, your mind aligned, and your spirit open to the voice of God. Because in that posture of surrender and focus, God can download revelation. He can whisper instructions. He can open doors you didn't even know existed. But you have to be still enough to hear it. You have to be focused enough to catch it. So here's the real test. Can you stay focused when everything around you tries to pull you off course? Can you remain anchored in truth when the winds of opinion blow fierce? Can you keep your eyes fixed on God's promises when the voices of doubt scream louder than ever? This is not the time to look left or right. This is the time to look up, to look inward, to ask God, what are you forming in me? What are you refining in me? What are you revealing to me? Because the work He's doing in you is just as important as the work He'll do through you. And if you skip the inner work, the outer assignment will crush you. That's why He's pulling you aside right now, not to punish you, but to prepare you, not to isolate you, but to insulate you, to build strength in your spirit, to sharpen your discernment, to clarify your convictions, because He's about to send you into places that require more than charisma. They require character, and character is forged in the furnace of focus, in the fire of preparation, in the quiet places where no one sees but God. And let's be honest, distractions don't always come dressed as evil. Sometimes they come dressed as opportunity. Sometimes they come through good things that aren't God things. You have to be able to discern the difference between being busy and being fruitful, between being popular and being purposeful, between being active and being anointed. Because you can be doing a lot and still be missing what matters. You can be surrounded by people and still be spiritually scattered. So take this moment to declutter your soul, to simplify your focus, to silence the noise, turn down the volume of the world, and turn up the voice of God. Let Him remind you of why you started. Let Him reignite the fire. Let Him recalibrate your vision. Because when you see clearly, you walk boldly. And when you walk boldly, you move heaven and shake hell. There are things God is calling you to do that require your full attention. There are people waiting for you to show up in the fullness of your assignment, and they don't need a distracted version of you. They don't need a drained version of you. They need the focused you, the faithful you, the prayerful you, the undivided you. That's why God is pruning some things. That's why He's closing some doors. That's why He's revealing what's real and removing what's counterfeit, not to hurt you, but to help you stay focused, to help you walk lighter, to help you carry the mantle without the extra weight. So don't resist the pruning. Don't resent the redirection. Don't curse the closed doors. They're all working together to preserve your focus, to protect the purity of your assignment. Because there's a fire inside of you that's too important to be smothered by the opinions of others. There's a call on your life that's too sacred to be shared with everything and everyone. This is the time to guard your oil, to protect your peace, to prioritize your presence in His presence. Because when you stay close to the fire, you stay ready. This is the season where your discipline will become your difference, where your consistency will unlock capacity, where your commitment to focus will separate you from the noise and align you with the supernatural. You will begin to see what others miss, hear what others can't, know what others ignore, not because you're better, but because you're focused, because you said no to distraction and yes to destiny, because you stopped scrolling and started seeking, because you stopped running and started resting. And in that rest, God revealed strategy. In that quiet, He whispered clarity. In that stillness, He birthed strength. Now, you're not just surviving, you're stewarding. You're not just getting by, you're getting built up. You're not just staying afloat, you're walking on water. Because your eyes are locked on Jesus, your heart is locked in purpose, and your focus is locked on eternity. So let this be your declaration: I will not be distracted. I will not be delayed. I will not be deceived. I will not be discouraged. I will keep my eyes on the author and finisher of my faith. I will run my race with endurance. I will fight the good fight with clarity. I will serve with intention. I will lead with focus. And I will not stop until every assignment He placed in my hands is complete. Not because I'm perfect, but because I'm focused, because I'm surrendered, because I'm ready. The fire has been lit. The time is now. The call is clear. The focus is sharp, and the breakthrough is already on the way. God is raising a people who know how to block out the noise and hear His whisper, a people who aren't distracted by every battle but are devoted to the one true King, a people who understand that focus is not just a habit, it's a weapon, a spiritual weapon that slices through the fog and brings clarity in chaos. And when you wield that weapon, well, you become a force hell can't reckon with, a light darkness can't ignore, a voice confusion can't silence. You become a leader not because of your title, but because of your focus. You become trustworthy not because of your resume, but because of your consistency. And it all begins in the decision to tune out the noise and turn toward God. So stay close to the fire. Stay anchored in truth. Stay planted in prayer. And stay focused on the assignment, because everything God promised is already in motion. But it's your focus that will position you to receive it. Your focus that will prepare you to steward it. Your focus that will refine you to reflect Him. And that kind of focus doesn't just change your life, it changes lives around you. It builds legacies. It unlocks destinies. It shifts generations. So don't take this moment lightly. Don't drift into distraction. Stay ready. Stay alert. Stay focused. Because God is not done. He's just getting started. And your breakthrough is closer than you think. Beloved chosen ones, as we stand at this threshold of transformation, having embraced the discipline of preparation and the strength of focus, it is now the sacred moment to turn our hearts toward gratitude. Gratitude is far more than a courteous response to blessings. It is a deep, powerful spiritual discipline that unlocks access to deeper fulfillment, peace, and divine abundance. When we pause to reflect on the journey that has carried us to this point with all its trials, challenges, and lessons, we begin to see that nothing was wasted. Every pain refined us, every delay matured us, every disappointment redirected us. Gratitude shifts our focus from what is missing to what is present, from striving to surrender, from fear to trust. It reminds us that even when things did not go our way, they still moved us toward God's purpose. Gratitude is not passive or naive. It is a conscious act of faith that says, I have what I need today and more is on its way. When we live in that truth, we stop chasing and start receiving. In a world always running toward the next thing, gratitude anchors us in the miracle of now. Reflecting on our journey, we come to realize that every single step, whether bathed in joy or burdened with sorrow, has played a necessary role in shaping who we have become today. The difficulties we encountered along the way were not simply burdens meant to crush us. They were divine invitations to grow deeper, to stand taller, and to lean more fully on our faith. These trials were disguised, teachers bringing forth in us endurance, resilience, patience, and a greater dependence on God's grace. Each success, even those that seem small or went unnoticed by others, stands as a powerful testament to our perseverance and to God's constant, unwavering presence walking with us. When we take the time to acknowledge and celebrate these moments, every step forward, every tear wiped away, every morning we rose despite the weight we carried, we pay honor to the path we've traveled and the strength we've gained through it. We remember the days we pressed on despite fear, the nights we cried in silence, and the moments we stood when we wanted to fall. Gratitude helps us declare that pain didn't destroy me, it shaped me. And through it all, God was right there guiding us with love. Gratitude is a powerful and transformative force that brings our hearts into alignment with the divine purpose of God. When we express true thankfulness, we are acknowledging that our lives, no matter how complex or difficult, are filled with blessings, some we can clearly see, and others that remain hidden yet still present. This kind of recognition opens the door to a deeper spiritual connection with God and strengthens our personal growth along the journey of faith. Scientific studies have shown that the regular practice of gratitude leads to increased levels of happiness, stronger relationships, and improvements in both physical and mental well-being. When we fix our focus on the good that exists in our lives, even during hard times, we develop a mindset that is more resilient, hopeful, and anchored in trust. Yet beyond its psychological benefits, gratitude is also a form of spiritual warfare. It is not merely emotion, it is a weapon. Gratitude fights bitterness, shields our hearts from jealousy, and pushes back against hopelessness. Choosing gratitude in suffering is choosing light over darkness. It is telling the enemy, "You have not won." It is telling our own soul, God is still good. Gratitude is trust, even when we don't have all the answers. Embracing gratitude also means taking time to recognize the many individuals who have supported and stood by us throughout our journey. Friends who believed in us, family members who sacrificed for us, mentors who guided us, and even strangers whose kindness impacted us in unexpected ways, all of them have played meaningful roles in shaping who we are today. Their encouragement, their wise counsel, their timely help, and their quiet presence have all contributed to our growth and success in more ways than we often realize. By intentionally expressing appreciation to these people, whether through words of thanks, handwritten notes, or thoughtful gestures, we deepen our connections and create a ripple effect of encouragement that reaches far beyond ourselves. We must also remember those who prayed for us in silence, the mentors who taught us without recognition, and the individuals who opened doors for us when we were still at the beginning of our path. Gratitude reminds us to honor their investment in us. It keeps us humble, reminding us that no one truly climbs alone. Gratitude compels us not only to reflect, but also to act, to reach back and lift others as we go forward, extending to them the same grace we once received. Furthermore, gratitude calls us to embrace and truly live in the present moment. It reminds us not to be consumed with chasing what's next or dwelling on what has passed, but to value and fully engage with the here and now. When we adopt this mindful posture, we open ourselves to the richness of everyday life, allowing both its joys and its challenges to shape us in meaningful ways. Living in the present helps us notice the subtle blessings we might otherwise overlook: a gentle breeze, a kind smile from a stranger, a moment of quiet, or the beauty of a sunrise. These seemingly ordinary moments, when seen through the lens of gratitude, take on a sacred quality. We begin to recognize them as signs of God's nearness, His care, and His daily provision. Gratitude slows our pace, softens our attitudes, and removes the blindfold of constant busyness. It reveals the sacredness woven into the present. As we become more grateful and aware, we also grow more compassionate, more joyful, and more generous. The now becomes more than a passing moment. It becomes holy ground, a place where we encounter God in real time. Incorporating gratitude into our daily lives can be accomplished through simple, intentional practices that keep our hearts aligned with what truly matters. One effective way is to keep a gratitude journal, writing down daily or weekly the things we're thankful for, both big and small. This habit trains our minds to focus on abundance rather than lack, and it nurtures a perspective grounded in hope. Additionally, engaging in regular prayer or meditation that centers on thankfulness draws us closer to God and reinforces our spiritual awareness. Gratitude can also be expressed through acts of kindness, generosity, and service to others. When we serve with joy, we reflect the blessings we've received and extend them outward. Over time, gratitude evolves from being just a reaction to good events into a lifestyle, a consistent attitude of the heart. We begin each day with thanks, not because everything is easy, but because God remains faithful. We end each day by noticing blessings instead of burdens, and throughout the day we live with open hands, receiving, giving, and trusting. Gratitude doesn't simply follow a good life. It builds and sustains one from the inside out. As we continue to intentionally cultivate gratitude, we often begin to notice a gradual but profound shift in our overall perspective. Life's challenges no longer seem like dead ends, but rather as opportunities for growth, refinement, and character development. Setbacks no longer define us. They become setups for comebacks, launching points for something greater. This shift empowers us to approach life's uncertainties with renewed confidence, hope, and grace. In addition, a grateful heart tends to draw in even more blessings, acting like a magnet that attracts positivity and spiritual abundance. This isn't just about having an optimistic attitude, it's a spiritual truth. What we choose to honor ends up honoring us in return. What we bless blesses us, and what we consistently thank God for, He multiplies. Gratitude enlarges our capacity. When we express thanks for what we already have, we show God we're ready to be entrusted with more. Instead of grumbling about what's missing, we faithfully steward what's already been given. Through thanksgiving, we create space. Through honor, we multiply. Gratitude isn't just a reaction, it's the gateway to more joy, more peace, and more of God Himself. In conclusion, embracing gratitude is an essential and transformative step in our spiritual journey. It helps us acknowledge how far we've come, celebrate the victories we've experienced, and ready our hearts to receive even greater blessings in the days ahead. Gratitude anchors us in the present while preparing us for what's to come. By developing and maintaining a mindset rooted in thankfulness, we align ourselves with the divine rhythm of abundance and step into a life that is richer in purpose, joy, and meaning. Each day becomes an opportunity to recognize what we've been given and anticipate the goodness that still awaits us. Let us therefore choose to live each day with intentional gratitude. Let us speak words of praise even when we are under pressure. Let us lift our hands in worship, even when our hearts feel burdened. Let us write the thank you note, speak the encouraging word, and pause often to give glory to God even in the midst of our busy lives. Gratitude is not merely a spiritual habit, it is spiritual alignment. It tunes our hearts to the frequency of heaven. And when our hearts are tuned to heaven, we hear His voice more clearly, we walk in His ways more steadily, and we love others more deeply. Gratitude is the anthem of the redeemed. Let it be the song we sing every day. Beloved chosen ones, there comes a moment in your life when everything you've been through begins to make sense, not because the pain disappears or the questions are all answered, but because the presence of God becomes clearer than the confusion. That moment, my friend, is now. This is not a delay, not a detour, not a denial. This is divine timing. You've been walking faithfully, praying even when you didn't feel it, praising even when the tears wouldn't stop, and holding on when everything around you was falling apart. But now the shift is happening. Now the sound of chains breaking in the spirit is louder than the silence of unanswered prayers. This next chapter in your journey is not random. It is a spiritual upgrade. And I'm here to declare that in the next 48 hours, your destiny will begin to unlock in ways you never imagined. Not because of luck, not because of effort alone, but because you are stepping into what was already written, because what God promised is being delivered right on time. You see, spiritual elevation does not come when things are easy. It comes when you have walked through the valley and refused to bow to fear. It comes when you have faced resistance and chose to worship instead of worry. It comes when you have stood in front of locked doors and praised anyway, believing that your praise is the key. That's what this moment is. The doors are opening not because you found a new key, but because your endurance turned the lock. Every season of suffering was preparing you for this upgrade. Every battle you fought and survived, every night you wept and still believed, every time you chose obedience over convenience, it was all building capacity for what's about to be poured out. You were not being punished, you were being positioned. God was shaping you, strengthening you, sanctifying you, so that when the time came, you would be ready to carry the weight of your calling. And now the time is here. In the next 48 hours, you're going to begin to sense it, not in fireworks or thunder, but in the still sacred movements of the Spirit. You'll feel a fresh wind blow into places that felt stuck. Ideas will begin to flow where there was confusion. Peace will settle where there was pressure. People who drained you will be distanced without drama. Resources will arrive right when they are needed, not too early, not too late. Doors will open, not because you pushed, but because you prayed. God has been waiting for this alignment. He's been orchestrating things behind the scenes while you stayed faithful on the stage of your everyday life. And now that you are in position, heaven is releasing what has been held in waiting, not because you earned it, but because you endured for it. Not because you demanded it, but because you were developed for it. This is divine timing, and it cannot be rushed or delayed by any man. This upgrade is not cosmetic. It's not about status or applause. It's internal. It's eternal. It's the transformation of your spiritual identity. You're not who you used to be. You don't even pray the way you used to pray. You don't see with the same eyes. You don't speak with the same fear. You've been refined. And because of that, your capacity to carry the glory has increased. This upgrade comes with revelation. You'll begin to discern what others miss. You'll speak life in places where others see death. You'll walk into rooms and shift the atmosphere, not because of charisma, but because of consecration. You've been set apart, and now it's time to be set in motion. God is unlocking your destiny, not in fragments, but in fullness. No more partial glimpses. No more. Almost there. It's unfolding, and it's unfolding now. You need to understand what happens when your destiny begins to unlock. It doesn't just affect you. It shifts everything connected to you. Family lines begin to heal. Cycles of generational bondage begin to break. Provision begins to flow in unexpected ways. Opportunities begin to appear that no man could orchestrate. That's what favor looks like. That's what grace does. When you walk in the timing of God, doors that were bolted shut swing wide without you having to knock. People who once ignored you suddenly remember your name, not because of networking, but because of divine announcement. God is announcing you in the Spirit. He's saying, this is the one I've chosen. This is the one I've tested. This is the one I can trust with more. And when heaven announces you, no hell can deny you. Now is not the time to shrink back. Now is not the time to hesitate. You've waited too long, prayed too hard, survived too much to let fear rob you of what's already been given. This is the moment to stand tall in your authority. This is the time to stretch into the new territory God is calling you to. Will it be unfamiliar? Yes. Will it require faith? Absolutely. But you are not walking alone. God is going before you. He's surrounding you, and He's already marked the path you are about to walk. Every resource you need, every answer you've sought, every connection that seemed out of reach, He's already placed it along the way. You just have to keep moving. You just have to keep believing, because the unlocking is not a one-time event. It is a process, a series of open doors that build upon each other, expanding your influence and deepening your faith with every step. And don't be surprised if resistance rises just as the unlocking begins. Don't mistake opposition for misdirection. The enemy always attacks what he fears, and right now he fears you stepping fully into your calling. He fears your voice, your testimony, your impact. But you are not stepping into this destiny in your own strength. You are stepping into it with heaven's backing. Angels are being dispatched on your behalf. Peace that surpasses understanding is covering you. Wisdom is being downloaded into your spirit. You're not the same person who started this journey. You've grown, you've changed, and now you are ready. So walk boldly, speak confidently, dream unreasonably, expect supernaturally, because what is coming is bigger than your resume, deeper than your training, greater than your qualifications. It is based on your obedience, not your credentials. It is grounded in your surrender, not your striving. The reason you feel the shift so strongly is because your spirit already knows this is the fulfillment of what you've been sensing all along. You are stepping into alignment. And alignment attracts acceleration. Where you once felt stuck, now there will be flow. Where you once felt scattered, now there will be strategy. Where you once saw only delay, now you will witness divine delivery. This is not hype. This is holy. This is not excitement. This is execution. You are not being called to imagine anymore. You are being called to implement, to walk in what you already carry, to speak what God has shown you in secret, to move in what He has whispered in the midnight hours. This is the time for manifestation. The seed you sowed in faith is about to bloom. The prayer you whispered when no one was watching is about to be answered in front of many. The pain you endured in silence is about to become the platform you stand on in power. This is what happens when heaven says, now. So in the next 48 hours, pay attention. Listen closely. Move when He says move. Speak when He says speak. Sow when He says sow. Because every act of obedience is another turn of the key. Every step you take in faith is another layer of your destiny unfolding. Don't look for the spectacular, look for the sacred. Don't wait for lightning, wait for leading. The Spirit will guide you gently but surely into rooms you once only dreamed of and into impact you never thought possible. You will know it's God not just by the doors that open, but by the peace that fills you when you walk through them. You have been faithful with little. Now you are being entrusted with much. This upgrade is not temporary. It's not seasonal. It's a new dimension. It's the beginning of a destiny that has been maturing in silence, watered by your tears, strengthened by your worship, forged in your wilderness. And now that it's time, nothing can stop it. Nothing can block it, and nothing can reverse it. Because when God unlocks it, it stays open. And when God upgrades it, it cannot be downgraded. So receive this word, not as inspiration, but as instruction. The next 48 hours are not just another set of days on the calendar. They are prophetic markers. They are the beginning of something sacred. Walk carefully, walk boldly, walk gratefully, because heaven is opening doors and your destiny is unlocking. Now, you see, when God begins unlocking destiny, when He starts lifting veils and breaking chains and opening ancient gates, He doesn't stop halfway. He completes what He starts, And now that your spiritual upgrade has begun and your divine assignment is stirring awake, there comes a shift so swift, so sudden, and so holy, it carries the unmistakable fingerprints of heaven. That shift is the presence of miracles, not distant abstract miracles. Not the kind you read about but never touch. No, I'm talking about tangible, visible, undeniable moments of divine intervention that hit your life in ways you could not have orchestrated yourself. And here's the truth. In the next 48 hours, these miracles will begin to unfold. They may not look like what you expected. They may come wrapped in unusual packages, but when they arrive, you will know. You will know that it was God. You will know that every tear, every delay, every denied request was actually a setup for this divine moment. You've been waiting for answers, haven't you? Waiting for the breakthrough, the sign, the shift, the thing that makes sense of the suffering. And God says it's not coming in the way you planned, it's coming in the way that brings Him glory. Because miracles are never about the comfort of the moment. They're about the revelation of who He is. That's why you've had to wait. That's why some doors stayed closed until now. Because if He gave you the miracle before the maturity, you would have mishandled the blessing. But now you're ready. You're ready to recognize the miraculous when it walks into the room. You're ready to steward the breakthrough when it lands in your hands. You're ready to glorify God not just for what He does, but for who He is in the middle of it. This next season is not about the predictable, is not about the calendar or the clock. It's about divine timing. It's about the alignment of heaven with your faith. It's about the way God folds time to make sure you are at the right place at the right moment for the right reason. You're not just going to stumble into favor, you're about to collide with it. Because this is a moment when God is answering the prayers you forgot you even prayed. He's responding to the cries that came from the bottom of your soul. Those whispers you made in desperation, those journal entries you scribbled through tears, He saw it all. And now He's responding in ways that will leave you breathless. Let me tell you something about miracles. They often show up in the midst of chaos. They arrive when the storm is loudest. They appear when logic fails, when the numbers don't add up, when the doctors shake their heads, when the bank says no, when your friends walk away, when your hope is hanging by a thread. That's when God shows up. Not because He enjoys your struggle, but because He knows how to use your struggle to reveal His strength. You've been trying to figure out how it's going to happen, but it won't happen by your strategy. It will happen by His Spirit. The same God who split the Red Sea, who raised Lazarus, who fed 5,000 with 2 fish and 5 loaves, that same God has not changed. He's still doing the miraculous, and He's not just doing it for them, He's doing it for you. In the next 48 hours, you need to get your spirit ready. Not anxious, not frantic, but expectant. Because when the miraculous shows up, it shows up for the alert. It shows up for the ones watching, the ones listening, the ones who refuse to be distracted by the noise of the world. You've got to quiet your heart so you can sense what He's doing. You've got to clear the clutter from your soul so you don't miss the divine appointment. Because some miracles will knock gently, others will crash through the walls of your routine, but they will come. And when they do, your job is not to analyze them. Your job is to receive them. I know you faced disappointment. I know some of you stopped expecting because you got tired of being let down. But God is not man. He does not forget. He does not misplace promises. He does not run late. Sometimes He holds back the miracle because He's been preparing you to receive something better than what you asked for. What you thought you needed was only a shadow of what He actually planned. He was never ignoring you. He was out ahead of you, aligning people, shifting circumstances, rearranging timelines, and positioning blessings with your name on them. And now the appointed time is arriving. You're going to start seeing pieces fall into place. Phone calls you weren't expecting, emails that open new doors, conversations that shift your course, peace that doesn't make sense, provision that seems to fall from nowhere, healing that defies reports, restoration of relationships that you thought were long gone, opportunities that seem completely out of reach. God's not doing it the conventional way, he's doing it the miraculous way. Because when he shows up like this, you can't take credit for it. No one else can steal the glory. The only response will be worship. The only explanation will be grace. And let me tell you this, miracles are not random. They are targeted. They are precise. They are intentional. God doesn't just release the miraculous for the sake of spectacle. He does it to fulfill purpose. That means every miracle that touches your life in this season is connected to the next stage of your calling. It's not just a blessing, it's an instruction. It's not just a provision, it's a preparation. He's making sure that when you get to the next level, you have everything you need to carry the weight of it. Because favor without foundation is dangerous. But favor built on faith, that's unshakable. You've been faithful in the quiet place. You've prayed when nobody saw. You've praised when you didn't feel like it. You've trusted when the path was dark. And now God says, I'm about to reward what you did in secret with miracles that will be seen in public. People will look at you and wonder how, and you'll point them straight to the heavens. Because this kind of breakthrough can't be bought, can't be faked, can't be copied. It's divine. And it's coming to you. You may not even recognize the miracle at first. It might look like a small conversation, a delayed flight, a text message, an old friend suddenly reaching out. Don't dismiss the small. Don't overlook the unexpected, because sometimes the miraculous hides in the mundane. Sometimes the extraordinary walks in wearing ordinary clothes. But when your heart is tuned to God, you'll know. You'll sense it. You'll feel it deep in your spirit. This is different. This is God. And when that moment comes, lean in, respond with faith, move with courage, obey without hesitation. Because miracles don't just bless you, they activate something in you. They wake up boldness. They renew vision. They reignite purpose. They call you into motion. This next move of God in your life is not just about fixing a problem. It's about fulfilling a prophecy. You are stepping into a season where promises are coming out of hiding, where the delay turns into delivery, where the waiting room becomes a birthing room, where prayers become praise reports, where wounds become testimonies, where what the enemy meant for evil gets turned into glory. And it won't take years. It won't take months. Some of you within 48 hours are going to see the first sign, a glimpse, a crack in the wall, a flicker of light, and it'll be enough to know he's doing it. So lift your head, open your heart, raise your expectations, speak life over your situation. Declare what God said, even if you don't see it yet. Walk like it's already done. Praise like the answer is already here, because that's what faith does. It celebrates the rain before it falls. It thanks God for the door before it opens. It sings in the prison before the chains break. That's the posture that attracts miracles. Not striving, not stressing. Surrender, trust, obedience. You're not here by accident. You're not hearing these words by coincidence. This moment is prophetic. It is sacred. It is orchestrated by God to ignite your faith and prepare you for the miraculous. The next 48 hours are going to mark a shift in atmosphere, a shift in mindset, a shift in alignment, and yes, a shift in manifestation, because when God decides it's time, no man, no demon, no past, no failure, no system can stop it. What he's about to do in your life will silence every doubt and prove once again that he is faithful to his word. So be ready, be watchful, be grateful. The miracle is not coming. It's already moving. It's already on the way. You're about to step into it. This is your moment. This is your miracle. And it is unfolding now. My dear friends, There comes a moment in every chosen person's life where the silence breaks the clouds part and the stillness gives way to a holy stirring. It does not always come with trumpets or loud proclamations. Sometimes it arrives like a whisper in the middle of the night. Other times it rises like fire in your bones, uncontainable, undeniable. And if you've been paying attention to the signs, if you've been listening not just with your ears but with your spirit, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You feel it. There's something changing in the air around you. You are not in the same season anymore. The battle you fought in silence, the tears you shed when no one else was watching, the prayers you whispered in the dark, they weren't in vain. They were seeds planted in a sacred soil. And now the ground beneath your feet is rumbling because your harvest is coming. You've been chosen not just to survive, but to rise. Not just to exist, but to lead. Not just to witness change, but to be the change. You are standing on the edge of an extraordinary transformation. God is opening the floodgates of heaven over your life. In the next 48 hours, divine shifts will occur in your finances, your emotional realm, and your spiritual atmosphere. That's not just encouragement. That's a prophetic declaration backed by the orchestration of heaven itself. Leadership is not the luxury of comfort. It is the demand of divine responsibility. And when God selects a man or a woman to rise, He doesn't look at resumes, degrees, or popularity. He looks for obedience. He looks for hearts that are willing vessels, that are open lives, that are surrendered. And yes, He looks for the bruised, the broken, the ones the world overlooked. Because it is those who have been crushed that release the purest oil. It is those who have wrestled with God and not let go that come out walking with a limp and leading with compassion. You've gone through just enough to qualify for what's coming next. The late nights, the private pain, the inner warfare, it's all been part of the molding. Not a single moment of your struggle was wasted. It was training ground for your mantle. Now the season is shifting. The trumpet has sounded in the invisible. God is calling His chosen ones out of hiding, out of hesitation, out of fear, and into divine boldness. You're being called to lead, not because you're perfect, but because you're appointed. Not because you have all the answers, but because you have the courage to ask the right questions. Your leadership is rooted in your willingness to go where others won't, to believe when others doubt, and to love when others judge. That's the mantle on your shoulders now. Financially, God is about to rearrange some things in your life. He is not merely handing you resources so you can consume them in comfort. He is transferring wealth because you're a kingdom vessel. The increase coming your way is not for hoarding, but for sowing. Not just for spending, but for sending help to the hurting, sending hope to the hopeless, sending life into dead places. Get ready to steward a new measure. Money will no longer be your ceiling. It will be your servant. God is releasing divine ideas, unexpected favor, and supernatural provision. You'll walk into rooms where the decisions have already been made in your favor. You'll receive calls, opportunities, breakthroughs that were already in motion while you were still battling self-doubt. And through it all, remember, this isn't just about personal success. It's about sacred responsibility. To whom much is given, much is required. So as you receive, be ready to pour out. As you gather, be prepared to give. As you rise, be willing to lift. Emotionally, the tides are turning. That heaviness you've been carrying, that unspoken exhaustion, that war in your soul, it's coming to an end. God is sending healing like waves crashing over your mind and heart. You will not keep reliving what broke you. You will not keep replaying what failed you. The trauma of your past will not define the tone of your future. God is restoring joy, not just a feeling, but a supernatural force that sustains even in hardship. He's binding up your wounds, soothing your anxiety, and exchanging your ashes for beauty. Where there's been confusion, clarity is coming. Where there's been numbness, feeling is returning, and not just any feeling, divine affirmation, a reminder that you are not invisible, not forgotten, not forsaken. This rise is also about emotional wholeness. The stronghold of insecurity is breaking. The prison of people-pleasing is collapsing. The approval of man will no longer be your addiction. Your identity is being rerouted in heaven's truth. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, called and capable, set apart and sustained. Spiritually, this is the hour of your awakening. You've known God as a Savior. Now you're about to know Him as a sender. You've walked in grace. Now you will walk in authority. The Holy Spirit is stirring your gifts, activating what has been dormant, unlocking realms of understanding you never thought possible. You will begin to discern with greater clarity, to speak with greater power, to walk with greater conviction. The things that used to tempt you will lose their pull. The places that used to confuse you will now feel familiar. God is upgrading your sensitivity to His voice. There will be moments you wake up in the middle of the night, not because of anxiety, but because heaven wants to speak. There will be encounters, divine appointments, sacred alignments. Your steps are ordered. Your words are anointed. Your presence is disruptive to darkness. You are no longer reacting to life. You are commanding it with the authority of a child of God. Spiritual warfare will not drain you. It will reveal you. This is your emergence into mature faith. Now more than ever, you must be intentional about your environment. You cannot afford to be surrounded by mediocrity. The level you are entering requires people who see you not just as you are, but as God has called you to be. You need kingdom conversations, prophetic encouragement, relationships that sharpen and stretch. The days of explaining your value are over. God is aligning you with those who recognize your worth without needing a backstory. And you must protect your energy. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every argument deserves your voice. You are on assignment. Your time is sacred. Your capacity is limited. You are not here to entertain distractions. You are here to execute purpose, and that requires focus, boundaries, and discernment. This is your moment to rise, not just as an individual, but as an influence. The leadership mantle on your life is not optional, it is essential. The world is waiting on your yes. There are people whose breakthrough is connected to your obedience, souls who will find healing because you had the courage to speak, generations who will walk in freedom because you decided to break the chain. Do not minimize your role. Do not shrink to fit environments. God is calling you to transform. You are the answer to someone's cry. You are the evidence of God's faithfulness. You are the light that will not be hidden. So rise, not in pride, but in purpose. Not in arrogance, but in alignment. Not to impress, but to impact. This is your hour. And as you rise, remember where your help comes from. You didn't bring yourself this far. Grace did. Mercy did. Power beyond your understanding carried you. And that same power will sustain you. Keep your posture low and your vision high. Lead with humility. Serve with passion. Speak with boldness. Love without conditions. And never forget, this is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your legacy. What starts with your rise will echo through eternity. You've been hidden for a season, but now you are being revealed. The rise of the chosen has begun, and you, my friend, are part of it. My dear friends, after the miracle shows up, after the breakthrough unfolds, after you've witnessed the sudden shift that only God could orchestrate, there comes a moment that's even more sacred than the blessing itself. It's the moment you look in the mirror and don't quite recognize the person staring back at you. Not because you've lost yourself, but because something greater, something truer, something divine has been birthed inside you. This right here is the season of personal rebirth. And if you're listening right now, that means you're standing on the edge of your own becoming. What's happening in your life isn't just about external change. It's not just about doors opening or prayers being answered. It's not just about the money that finally came through or the opportunity that finally aligned. Those are just signs. What's really happening is a transformation on the inside that no eye can see, but every soul can feel. This transformation is pulling you away from who you used to be and pushing you toward the version of yourself that heaven has always seen. The version of yourself that walks with authority, speaks with wisdom, and lives with clarity and peace. God isn't just shifting your circumstances. He's shaping your identity. Let me tell you something deep. When God decides it's time for a new version of you to arise, He doesn't just tweak a few behaviors or change a few habits. He uproots every lie that's ever been spoken over you. He exposes every fear that has ever held you back. He shatters every label that the world tried to put on you. This rebirth is violent in the spirit. It's not gentle. It tears down what was built in insecurity. It uproots what was planted in doubt. But it does so with divine purpose because God knows what's on the other side of your transformation. And I need you to understand something crucial. This version of you that's emerging, it's not a product of your past. It's not the sum of your mistakes or a reflection of your failures. No, it's the result of refinement. It's the outcome of fire. You didn't come through that storm just to go back to who you used to be. You didn't survive the dark just to shrink in the light. God allowed the pressure, the pain, and the silence so that when you stepped into this next version of yourself, you'd know it was Him who carried you through. You'd know that this strength you feel now, it didn't come from you, it came from the Spirit within you. See, the world wants to define you by who you were, by what you did, by who hurt you, by what didn't work. But God sees the eternal blueprint. He sees the masterpiece still in progress. And He's not concerned with who you used to be because He's too focused on who He's raising you up to be. You've outgrown the old you. You've outlived the season of playing small. This new version of you isn't seeking permission anymore. It isn't negotiating its worth. It isn't begging for approval. This version of you is grounded, purpose-driven, spirit-led. Now, that doesn't mean you won't be afraid. It doesn't mean there won't be moments where you feel unqualified for what God is placing in your hands. But I need you to remember this. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And you are being called right now into your divine self. That version of you that is no longer afraid to stand alone if it means standing in truth. That version of you that no longer lets anxiety write the script. That version of you that walks through the valley but doesn't pitch a tent there. The valley was never meant to define you. It was meant to prepare you. I want you to think back on all the times you doubted yourself, all the nights you cried wondering if your life mattered, all the times you tried to fit into a space that was never meant for your wingspan. And now realize this, every single moment was leading to this emergence, to this unveiling, to this release. The cocoon had to feel like confinement before it could become the place of transformation. And now the wings are ready. Now the time has come. This is the hour of your flight. But hear me, rebirth comes with responsibility. You cannot carry the old into the new. You cannot bring the fear, the bitterness, the unforgiveness into this version of you that God is breathing life into. You must lay it down. All of it. The shame, the self-hate, the toxic attachments, the excuses. You must bury what was so you can resurrect what is. You must die to who you were to fully live. As who you are becoming, the version of you that walks boldly in purpose can't be dragging chains from the past. Break them, burn them, bury them. This is not the season to pretend to be small to keep others comfortable. This is not the season to silence your voice to make room for insecurity. This is not the season to apologize for becoming who God always saw when he looked at you. You were made for more, and now is when you step into it. You are becoming a leader, a warrior, a lighthouse. Not because it's trendy, not because it's easy, but because God called you by name and marked your life for impact. You are not who you were yesterday, and thank God for that. You are not your trauma. You are not your mistakes. You are not the absence of validation. You are the answer to someone else's prayer. You are the light someone else needs to see. You are the miracle walking, and when you start to live like it, when you own it not arrogantly but humbly, gratefully, heaven will back every step you take. So rise with fire in your bones and clarity in your spirit. Walk into rooms as the evidence of grace. Speak with the authority of someone who's been through the wilderness and came out with a word. You are being reborn, not just for you, but for everyone connected to your calling. There are people waiting on the other side of your courage. There are lives that will shift when you show up in your fullness. Don't hold back. Don't shrink. Don't stall. The world is groaning for the revealing of the sons and daughters of God. That's you. This is your revealing. This is your time. Step into it not with fear, but with faith. Not with pride, but with power. You are not arriving, you are becoming. Every breath you take is heaven's confirmation you're still here, which means your purpose is still alive. Let the old fall away. Let the new rise. Let the Spirit move freely through you. You don't have to force this. You just have to surrender, because the new you isn't manufactured. It's revealed. And now it's time for the world to see what God has been building in silence. The wait is over. You have been reborn. Walk in it. As we come to the very end of today's message, I want you to know that you've been through the darkness. You've been through the silence, the breaking, the stretching, the divine preparation. And now, right now, at this very moment, everything is aligning. Every test, every tear, every unanswered prayer has brought you to the edge of a divine threshold. You've walked through the fire, but not to be burned. You've journeyed through the wilderness, but not to get lost. It was all to prepare you for this hour, because now comes the confirmation. Now comes the call, not just to believe, but to act. This is not the end of the process. This is the emergence of purpose. You're not just stepping into a new season, you're becoming a new creation entirely. This is your hour to rise, not just to survive, but to step fully into the extraordinary design that God has been shaping in secret. You are no longer a reflection of your past. You are not the sum of your fears. You are not the weight of your failures or the echo of your doubts. You are the workmanship of the Most High. Heaven has been busy sculpting something that the world hasn't seen yet. While you were in the cocoon of silence, heaven was declaring your name while you felt forgotten. God was writing your future in the ink of grace and glory. The battles you thought were setbacks were actually rehearsals for the spotlight. And now the stage is set. The curtain is about to rise. The world is about to witness a version of you that has been cultivated, anointed, and appointed. You are stepping into your final form, your true self, the one heaven has always seen, even when you couldn't. So now comes the time of confirmation. Let me say this to you clearly. You are not just in transition, you are in transformation. This isn't just a better chapter, this is a whole new book. Everything about you is syncing with heaven's rhythm. Your thoughts are aligning. Your desires are being purified. Your vision is being sharpened. Your spirit is awakening to possibilities that you never dared to dream. The questions that used to haunt you are being replaced by clarity. The chains that used to bind you are breaking in the presence of the one who called you. This is the hour of divine synchronization. Heaven and earth are conspiring in your favor. The pieces are falling into place, not by accident, but by divine strategy. And because of that, it's time to act. This is not a passive word. This is a marching order. This is the moment where your faith has to stand taller than your fear, where your hope has to shout louder than your hesitation, where your yes has to overpower every no that tried to bury you. You don't need every answer before you move. You don't need perfect conditions before you step. You just need to know who sent you. And he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. The doors that are opening are not random. The favor that is chasing you down is not a fluke. This is the evidence that the wilderness didn't waste you. It prepared you. The pain didn't disqualify you. It refined you. And now in this sacred window of 48 hours, you are being invited into the fulfillment of what was always promised. So stand up. Stand up with your heart wide open. Stand up with your spirit unshaken. Stand up knowing that what's ahead of you is greater than what's behind. Stand up knowing that this isn't just your time, it's your turn. The promise is not just coming, it's here. It's arriving like a wave crashing into the shore of your life. You have been positioned for overflow. You've been aligned for manifestation. You've been trusted with trials so you could be entrusted with triumph. And now you are not being asked to wait, you are being asked to walk. Walk into your destiny. Walk into your calling. Walk into the rooms you used to only pray about. Walk with confidence because the hand of God is on you. And as you walk, don't shrink. Don't apologize for the favor. Don't second guess the anointing. Don't downplay the miracle that you are. You are evidence that God still speaks, that God still restores, that God still calls ordinary people into extraordinary purpose. Let your life be a loud testimony. Let your joy be disruptive. Let your peace be undeniable. Let your faith be a revolution in every room you enter. Because you are not moving alone. Heaven is backing you. Angels are walking beside you. The Spirit is breathing through you, and the Word is carrying you forward. So hear this loud and clear. You are not forgotten. You are not delayed. You are not disqualified. You are chosen. You are seen. You are sent. You are about to live a life that makes people wonder how. You are about to see doors open that education couldn't earn and connections couldn't broker. You are about to experience favor. That doesn't make sense. Not because of who you are, but because of who God is. And because you finally said yes, this is your moment to claim what has always had your name on it. This is your moment to receive what generations before you prayed for. This is your moment to walk into rooms with courage, to love with abandon, to serve with power, and to live fully, boldly, and unapologetically as the person God always knew you would become. So, in these next 48 hours, don't just wait for something to happen. Partner with heaven and make it happen. Declare over your life what God has said. Tear down every lie that tells you you're not enough. Shut the mouth of shame. Silence the voice of doubt. Rise like the warrior you are. Speak like the prophet you are. Move like the leader you are. And love like the disciple you've always been called to be. Because this is not just your season. It's your unveiling, your emergence, your arrival. This is the final affirmation, and the time is now. No more delay. No more fear. No more playing small. What God has placed inside you is greater than anything the world can place against you. And it's time to walk it out. Walk with fire. Walk with faith. Walk with heaven's wind at your back. Your promise isn't waiting on God, it's waiting on you. So go get it. Finally, thank you for staying with me until the very end of today's message. If this word has inspired or blessed you in any way, we humbly invite you to support this channel with a few kind words of encouragement. Your contributions help us continue spreading the word of God and sharing peace around the world, reaching those who can thank us from the heart and those who cannot. Your prayers, likes, and shares are blessings to us in ways we can't fully express. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who may need this message of hope and wisdom. Your engagement helps our community grow and allows us to reach more lives with the light of Christ. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Let us know which part of today's message spoke to you the most. May God cover you with His grace, strengthen you, and bless everything you do.